All right, in this lesson, we are going to be looking at a wave model for sound, basically investigating to see if sound can be represented as a wave, if sound really is a wave. Before we get to that, let's just do a bit of review, and I'll show you some extra things about two-dimensional interference patterns. So this video here, drumhead resonance, I'll just load up quick here for us. Drumhead resonance. So probably this one, right? Go. Whatever. I think it plays anyways here. Maybe. I needed to say, there we go. So just a circular drum head resonance. And these are all different resonance patterns. So you can see the simplest one right here. That'd be like the fundamental pattern, similar to a fundamental pattern in a string at least. And then the one next to it, you can picture like, twice as complicated. It's got 2 spots, and then it's got 4 spots, and so on. These are all standing wave patterns that can exist. I think these ones here might be easily thought of as like first, second, third, fourth almost, and then kind of different weird patterns are possible if you're looking at a two-dimensional surface like that instead of just a one-dimensional string. What else we have? This old school video here, drum head resonance head. Let's see if this one loads. Yeah, missing a codec, whatever that means. Oh, yeah, box, but it doesn't show the picture. So that one's dead to me, I guess. This one that I said is redundant might be the one we get to see. Circular membrane drumhead. Drumhead vibration. So there's your fundamental vibration. Just up and down in the middle. And then head. This one has like a nodal line along the middle, going back and forth either side. Different kind of pattern there. It's a little harder to picture where the nodals are. So you can see in between there, it's going up on one side and down the other side. So it would be a nodal line in the middle there, and so on. Anyways, lots of weird standing wave patterns possible with two-dimensional surfaces. In this video, wave pool is pretty cool. So it really shows the connection between this two-dimensional like standing wave pattern and the idea of resonance kicking in. So they have a wave pool here. They gradually send different waves into it. And so you can see they're sending a bunch of circular waves towards the middle, and gradually they start to really build up in the middle, where it shoots up in the sky. So it's like a little weird thing, but it's obviously using standing wave patterns and properties. I don't know what that is, but yeah, the coolest part anyways, there, picture being in my $1 million theme park or multi-million-dollar theme park and being in a little boat and feeling the different resonance patterns. The one shoot up in the air here is pretty cool. You really see them coming together, and then all that energy goes to that one spot in the middle, right? Shoots way up. Just neat, I think. What else here? That one. Essentially, this is standing wave patterns. And so if you think of this being like a surface, if you had grains of sand or rice or something scattered all over this, where there's no movement, where there's a node, it would stay put. So this is a video. I do this in class as well. I have a metal plate and a speaker underneath that just vibrates it at certain frequencies. And I'll show you here resonance in rice. It's a fun one to show in class for sure. So is the sound going here? There we go. So you can see what's going on or hear what's going on. So at certain frequencies, standing wave patterns set up. And so you can see there's a weird nodal line all the way around the perimeter and a circle in the middle where that plate is not moving. That's why rice is scattering from where it is moving and then landing there. Any rice that lands in that spot just stays there. And so it gathers there naturally. And then you keep going up higher and higher frequencies. And you get weird different nodal patterns. So this one I've done lots of times in class. It shows up the easiest. And then you get spots that were nodes aren't nodes anymore. So the rice scatters to a new spot that's a node and just weird stuff. And then if you wanted to get into it, you could look at the mathematical equations that go along with all these weird shapes and so on. And you never know, it might actually lead to something. You never know. Yeah. So that's Chladni plates thing. Chladni plate by hand is a weird example too. And see if it comes up quick enough here. The guy's able to get that kind of pattern just by rubbing the table side of it. He's getting these standing wave patterns. And you can hear the sound of this, I'm assuming probably metal table that's setting up these nodal lines just by kind of like when you're rubbing your finger along a wine glass. And one other video I saw to do with this, I think he's going to do another trick here too. Oh, he's vibrating with a speaker now instead. But all sorts of weird different patterns can show up. Maybe, I think it was a speaker, but weird stuff. And the other one was color sand vibrations, colored sand. I'll type in. Was it the American spelling? Yeah. Americans don't like use colored sand. Somewhere in my files. This one, same idea, right? Got a Chladni plate standing wave pattern kind of thing going on. And so the way the sand is combining these different color mixtures. You can see the vibrations for the antinode is happening and where it's not, the nodes are, and so on. Anyways, moving on. Just neat stuff. So links for all those things if you want to check them out. There we go. So moving on to now investigating waves as a model for sound. So we've heard about we know about longitudinal waves. So let's look at a longitudinal standing wave. So I'm in the wrong spot here. Videos. Standing. Find it quick here. Longitudinal standing wave. This one has a spring, and it has a vibration being driven from one end or the other. I think this is the speaker here. And so basically it's pushing in and out on the spring. You're going to see spots where the spring isn't moving. That's a node and an antinode, right? So standing waves are definitely possible in longitudinal waves as well. A little harder to visualize, but this is really good, of course, to show it, but just much harder to show in class, of course. All right, there's a perfect video of it. Okay, so standing waves exist in longitudinal waves. So I'll show you why in a second. We're thinking of that right here. So if you think about how a speaker makes sound, of course, it's pushing back and forth, right? And so it's really making a longitudinal wave. These are just weird videos of stuff bouncing up and down on speakers. I don't need to waste time showing that stuff, but sound is a longitudinal wave. It must be basically because, you know, the way speakers work, you can see it, right? The other thing you can say too is that it would have to be longitudinal because there's nothing really connecting the air molecules together. If you push up or down on one, the one beside it's not going to care. But if you push an air molecule into another air molecule, then it's going to get pushed along and send the wave on its way, right? So if you have two air molecules like this, and you move this one up and down this way, well, this one's not going to feel that at all, right? But if you move it this way, then this one's going to get hit as well, which is going to hit this one, which is going to hit that one, and so on. And all of a sudden, you have a longitudinal wave. Okay, that's the idea there. So a very popular demo is the bell jar demo. And so what we're looking at is seeing if sound needs a material to travel through. So is it possible that it's a physical wave and presumably a longitudinal wave and through air, right? So what you do is you get a bell jar, you put a noise making device inside. I need to go to my more recent videos actually for this one. And it's one of the few that I have in here because I've made folders to help keep track of things. Here we go. So this is classic experiment. I do this one person as well. I just found videos of it instead. So you got a bell literally inside of a jar. You got a vacuum pump. You just pump all the air out of there. And as the air pumps out, listen for the sound. And it gets quieter, quieter, and quieter. Jumping ahead. Okay. So just jump back a little bit here. I can barely hear anything. He manages to open the valve eventually here, letting the air back in. And then you can hear it again. So this is a video of a real life demonstration. Seeing it in real life is pretty neat. Usually students are like, what? That's kind of crazy. You can't hear it. You can actually see with the bell I use, you can actually see the thing hitting the, you can see that it's still vibrating. You just can't hear it. You could still hear that one a tiny bit. So I pulled up this video. This one's longer and he talks a lot in that, but so there's the bell, we'll turn on right? The compressor. Oh, not compressor. The vacuum pump, of course. Vacuum pump. We have a nice vacuum pump. This one's nice because it's silent. Too much noise. So see how he's got it separated? It's sort of balanced in there and it's not contacting because the vibrations end up going through the glass, right? We'll let it run for a minute. So you can hear it and then you can't, right? Oh, I forgot to close the bell jar. Can you hear it getting louder again? So as air is going back in, it gets louder. And so now that bell is ringing away inside there, but you can't hear it. Can you see it? You can actually see it banging away. That's the kind I use. Can you hear it? Right, so there's a bit of a vibration, I guess. Maybe at the most, but I open the valve. Do it. Listen. Open it. Come on, do it. Opening this valve right here. Yeah, get at it. Letting the air in. Can you start to hear it? Yeah, you can. So, yeah, it's just showing that air is needed for the wave, right? So it's a mechanical wave. It's a longitudinal wave, basically. Confirmed there. This one here, visible sound. So this is from like a science center somewhere. Visible sound. Gotta go to this one. Visible sound. And so what you have in there is you have the pressure waves of the longitudinal waves, and you have so pressure waves that are making these like little balls of rice or whatever they are bounce around, and they kind of get knocked away from areas. So you end up with a standing wave, right? So you end up in a spot where there's lots of vibrations and spots where there isn't in that sound wave in the air inside of there. That's one of the ones. See the standing longitudinal standing wave in another way there, and this one. Sound waves too, I guess. One of them is, you can tell it's like pieces of string. That one I loaded up. It's the one that's like yarn or something. So same idea, and you can hear the different sounds. that are making the pattern. Kind of weird sounds, but you can definitely see the patterns emerge as the different sounds are changed, kind of like the rice plate, right? The Chladni plates thing. As the sounds change, you can sort of see what's going on to make that sound. So next step here then, to kind of nail some of this down here, we're going to explore a wave model for sound. And so we're going to look at pitch in sound versus frequency. So we've already saw with musical rulers and things like that the faster the frequency, the higher pitch it sounds. And so the sound property that corresponds to frequency is called pitch. We already have observed that. And so really, you think of it as like perceived frequency. The frequency of a sound coming towards your ears, what we perceive as hearing as a high pitch sound. If it's a low frequency sound wave coming towards your ears as a low pitch, right? So a low pitch sound versus a high pitch sound. I'm not embarrassed very easily. It's all good. Don't worry. Don't feel bad for me. So just like if you think of it, temperature is really just how we perceive or sense the amount of vibration of molecules. You've heard of hopefully the kinetic molecular theory of heat, of thermal energy. So the difference between a hot potato and cold potato is just the amount of the molecules of the potatoes are bouncing around. A cold one, they're bouncing around not very much, and a hot one, they're bouncing around a lot more. So we know that pitch and frequency are related. And so when we get to the pitch one in this video next, I just reversed them because they're in the opposite order here, but it won't be too surprising to see that pitch and frequency and therefore wavelength are connected. So I'm just going to type in volume. This is my most recent one here. Volume. Better just type it in, I guess. There right now. Still in downloads. There we go. It's still in my download folder. I just didn't move it yet. So somewhere here. Volume, pitch, and amplitude, and so on. So this is the exact kind of setup I set up in class. And so this thing just makes nice pure sine wave sounds. And so it's like 320 hertz, I think that says. And then you can see on the oscilloscope the wave pattern, and you can also hear the sound. Okay, so that humming sound or whoo, in tune with it there. Okay, so that's the wave pattern, and then he's going to increase the volume. Every time he's hitting a button there, it's making it go a little bit louder. Now he's trying to trigger the oscilloscope to make it freeze the wave so we can see it. Louder and louder, making the amplitude bigger and bigger. It's easy to see. And then he goes on to talk about frequency. So okay, so much more frequent, making the waves happen more often, and the wavelength's a lot smaller. Okay, so it's real time. When I do it in class, I have two wave generators. I have one hooked up to an oscilloscope, and the other one just hooked up to a speaker. So I can show like louder with the speaker, louder with the oscilloscope, seeing the amplitude change. Higher pitch with the speaker, higher pitch with the oscilloscope, showing the frequency become higher and the wavelength therefore smaller. Or yeah, smaller, said that right. So what we saw, of course, is this, that we have larger amplitude for louder, smaller amplitude. Notice I'm trying to keep the wavelengths the same. If I ask you to illustrate loud noises versus quiet noises with nice waves, you'd want to keep everything else the same, right? You wouldn't want to have a different wavelength, because then I might think that you think that wavelength is to do with volume. Okay, so that's kind of controlling your variables, if you will. With the pitch and frequency stuff, of course, you'd have a low frequency and a high frequency. And again, I've meant on purpose kept the amplitudes the same, both around the same amplitude. Okay, so you don't want to draw a picture of low frequency and high frequency where you'd say something like, okay, we've got low frequency and then we've got high frequency, because you've changed more than one thing at a time there. Okay, and I won't know whether you know that the volume didn't have to be louder for that to happen. Okay. Digital oscilloscope. So this is like I like this kind here better. This is certainly what I do in class as well. The digital oscilloscope is a pretty nice little video though, so I'm just going to show it quick here. So the first one was oscilloscope amplitude, just like we did, oscilloscope amplitude, and it's just you can hear it and see it at the same time. Okay, so that wave pattern, and then louder, then quieter, higher pitch, louder, higher pitch, quieter, higher, even higher pitch. You know, you're seeing amplitude and wavelength that changed, and you're hearing the effect as well. All right, and high and low notes. We kind of already accomplished it in the other one, I guess, but high and low notes. Focused a little more on it. So a low pitch, same volume, higher pitch. It's actually getting a little louder by the looks of it. Did it? No, it's the same. Going from there to there, right? So the super low pitch, super low sound. Oh, it did get a little louder actually. I didn't control the variables entirely there. Yeah. So another property of sound is the quality of the sound. All the kind of sounds you've been hearing are pure, simple sounds in those demonstrations. So they're sine waves. They're very boring. Like if I had an oscilloscope set up and a microphone, I do this in class all the time, where if I make the ooh sound, like ooh, it makes a boring sound like that. And so if someone was talking in that kind of voice, like if I was teaching physics all the time saying, and now we are going to learn about sound waves, it'd be very weird, of course. But the waves that I'd be making would all be sine waves, right? So if you're looking at complex sounds, which have nicer sounds, they call them rich sounds or complex sounds. You know, so if you like the sound of your voice or someone else's voice, or you know, let's just say you recognize voices, right? Voices have a very specific pattern, and it's a more pleasing pattern typically, right? Or pleasing sound typically. So sounds on an oscilloscope. Let's go to that. And so this is kind of funny here. You can be embarrassed for this student from University of Michigan. And you just see the patterns from the different sounds. Here we go.
Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow.
I'll skip ahead a little bit because I don't know why she's saying that. But
little lamb, Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow.
So I want you to see like some of the sine waves that happen. Like there's a spot there where she must have done like a pure sound. At the very end, the way she's like that, the way she was humming there made like a more of a pure sound. Then they get a tuning fork and hit actual pure sounds, and you can see the sine waves. Okay, so we'll see more about that soon, very soon. But basically, pure sounds versus these complex sounds, and there's something surprising about that. The connection between those two coming up in a lesson soon. This is pictures of my actual setup. There's my amplifier, my oscilloscope, and you know, sound that someone made. Took a picture of it, whatever it was. So for keeping track here, mechanical waves transfer energy. Yeah, they do. That's what a mechanical wave is. Sound does as well. Sometimes I pop a balloon to scare the heck out of people and help them see that energy is traveling. It requires a material to travel through. Yeah, you can't have a wave in a spring without a spring, and you can't have sound without air molecules. Sound can actually travel through lots of different things. It can travel through steel, it can travel through water, but you need a material to travel through. You can talk about the frequency of mechanical waves. You can talk about the frequency of sound, which is heard as pitch. So yeah, there's all sorts of connections between the two, of course. The musical road here, what they did is they carved a bunch of grooves in certain spacings in a road. Lancaster, California, is that right? Yeah, Lancaster, California. And to make it play a song basically as you're driving over it. So let's just type in 2009 because I saw that was in the folder. They don't get dinged with copyrights because of this. So I'll skip ahead. I already explained the idea of the spacing and so on. And then eventually they get to the point where they go for a drive. I'll turn the volume up here. So it's supposed to sound like I forget what the actual song.
Here's the idea. When you're driving along the road and you go off to the side.
Does it say? No, it doesn't say. I forget what the name is. I should know what it is, but that's like a classical tune, right? And is what it should have sounded like. And it's you can kind of tell what they're doing there. This video I won't play right now because it probably will ding me with copyrights. But they basically talk about like why it sounds bad, and the reason for it sounding bad is to do with their spacing that they used. So they did grooves in the road, right? And I think if you look at the video, they did the spacing between the edges, I think, but they should have done like the spacing from the centers. And so it's everything's just off, and everything's off more by different amounts is the biggest problem. Things are off by different amounts with the different spacings. So they didn't do it right. And the worst is that they made this road near a subdivision. People complained about it, so they paved it over and did it again somewhere else where there wasn't like houses nearby that would complain, and they built it wrong again. Like, why wouldn't they have noticed and fixed the problem? It's craziness that they didn't fix that. But yeah, take a look at that link. It's just kind of neat to see. But the idea is, as the tires are going over this, they're just hitting at a certain frequency, which sounds like a certain tone. And I should be able to get away with this one, no problem. So the singing bridge. I think I have that file. Singing bridge. Or do I have to type in O Canada? Yeah, there we go. O Canada Singing Bridge. So this is, if you're in the Kingston area ever at all, that's near where I live. There's the LaSalle Causeway has a metal grate bridge you drive over, and it constantly sounds like a whirring sound. You'll hear it here. So you hear this sound all the time. So then they put together this video of people driving at different speeds, making there be a different frequency and therefore a different pitch and tone that you hear. They pieced together O Canada, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you can check that one out. But it's all just the connection between the wave properties of sound and things that you see around you. This is a clip from a movie, Sorcerer's Apprentice, where the Tesla coils are zapping at different frequencies and making different sounds. If you're interested, click on it. Diffraction, like we already saw that water waves can do this, can sound do this. So I just get you to picture the idea of like standing on the other side of a wall and someone yelling. You're going to be able to hear that, and it's possible that there's some effect of diffraction moving that sound over there. I don't think I'm proving it to you here. Could be reflections. It could be lots of other things, but I think it's reasonable to think, okay, that I think maybe that could be true. That's all I'm saying for that one right now. This refraction one, I have a little story to do with that one. But with light and water waves, obviously they all refract. Like grade 10 for light and what we just saw for water waves, right? The story to do with that one is a buddy of John and I, grade 7 or something like that, we were out in the dinghy, which is a small boat that you go to shore with from a large sailboat. And so we were at a marina parked. My parents were in the sailboat, just parked, hanging out, whatever. My buddy John and I are way, 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 way far away in a marshy area, quite far away. And we're talking away, being kids, whatever, just talking. And we got back, and my dad had taken a video. It's on video 8mm video camera, like it's in my dad's basement in north of Sault Ste. Marie. But when you play it, he's in the boat, and you can see like he videos my mom and everybody else, and then he points the camera towards where we are, whatever, and zooms in. It had an incredible zoom on it. We're far away. It zooms way in, and you can just see us in the distance, but you can hear us clear as day in the video the whole time. So I'm thinking that maybe there was some refraction going on. Like there was warm air. It was a very foggy day. And so sound was like radiating upwards like it does, like it reflects from the ground and just goes up and out in the atmosphere. Normally you don't hear it again, right? But if it was reflecting or total internal reflection, possibly, which you might remember from grade 10, or it was just sort of bending, because it's going into a faster material here. And so it's refracting the way waves do. It might have been sort of focusing the sound towards back down and over to where my parents are. So I remember thinking like, wait, you could hear us talking? And I looked at John. I was like, oh, what were we talking about? And luckily, it wasn't anything. I didn't think too sinister or bad or whatever. But so we didn't get in trouble. This one here, this is just, physics of sound in the world around you. So I always encourage students to notice that kind of thing. And so I had students send me this by email from the Toronto Airport. Echoes in Toronto. Echoes in Toronto Airport. So they were just playing around with the frequency, the echoes, trying to clap like with the echoes.
Physics.
And then they were like, physics, and sent it to me. It was kind of funny. And parabolic reflections. So this is a real thing. This is the Q sound mirrors in West London. If you ever have a chance to go there, I haven't yet. But there's a spot where you can stand. So if you stand like here and someone else stands way over there and you talk or even whisper, it seriously sounds like they're whispering in your ear. It's very weird. And so it's reflecting the sound, and then this is reflecting the sound and focusing it to your ear. So it's just a neat little art science installation in a park, and there's probably a little plaque there describing how to have fun with it. Those are the Q sound mirrors, and this is something you see like if you're watching football or bird watchers. This is a parabolic microphone. So there's just a microphone, and there's a spherical, and so all the sound energy that goes there gets focused to the microphone, and it allows them to pick up directionally. It allows them to pick up certain voices. This bird watcher here, like or whatever they're doing, is they're picking up the sound of it, whatever they're pointing that dish towards. That sound from that particular source hits this, reflects to the focal point. And so the idea of parabolic reflection of sound absolutely is a real thing. I used to show this all the time, and then I saw a video recently about how this is actually from a military application where they were trying to locate the direction of like incoming planes, and so there was a system that they used for sound analysis of this, which later ended up getting used in radar examples and so on as well. Like the technology that they developed to do with the sound, which didn't really work out, ended up working out with radar later on. I forget where I saw that video. The skate park in Brockville apparently has a spot where you can really hear yourself talking, because it's like a parabolic whatever reflection of sound as well. Things here. In a elementary school near me, there's a reading circle, and there's like a dome in the ceiling. So the teacher is talking, and it focuses the sound of the students. Like it's real stuff. So reflection, obviously happening, parabolic reflection, yup, and so on. And the only other part, like just characteristics of sound. This is a little video about electric guitars having like inserts of different types of wood, because different types of wood have different vibration characteristics, and so they'll have different sounds. Not that important. As an acoustic guitar player myself, different woods have different sounds. So I have a mahogany guitar, I have a rosewood back guitar, I have a the one's all mahogany. All my other guitars are mahogany on the back, and then spruce on the front. But the different woods have different sounds. Not really that important, but this was just a fun one that I've done in the past, where we look at the different wave patterns for different sounds, and you try to identify the different months, and all the answers are there if you're interested in checking it out. But otherwise, I think we, have a pretty clear indication that sound really is a wave. It's a mechanical wave traveling through air and other substances. And we can make connections between the different wave properties and how we hear those things in sound. So this page has focused, sometimes if I didn't do all this material in one lesson. Like if I ever don't get through things, I would like to have the questions divided up. So basically the wave model for sound is those ones, and then seeing sound is these ones, and so on. So that's just why that little list is there. I have the questions on this page for you. All right, that is that. We're done, and thanks for watching.